Hi, in today's video, we're going to be discussing having a red dot optic on a pistol. And this video is meant for those of you who are private security professionals. Just a little bit about my background. I'm a California Post pistol, shotgun, and rifle instructor. I'm also a California Post red dot optics instructor as well. All that means is that I completed the requirements for the course. I went through the curriculum and I was awarded these certificates that allow me to train California peace officers. On the private security side, I have a BSIS firearms instructor license. This allows me to provide instruction and qualification to licensed private security professionals in the state of California. Even though I talk about California, this video is meant for those of you who are in any of the states. You're going to find this video especially helpful. First order of business. Is it a good idea for private security professionals to have a red dot optic on their pistol? Well, in order to address that, we're going to talk about the traditional way of firearm marksmanship. If I want to hit something, this is a Glock 22, 40 cal. Nothing in the magazine well. And I am visually and physically inspecting the chamber. Okay, the weapon is safe. If I want to hit a target, an intended target, there's three planes that I must cover. There's a front sight, and there's the rear sight. The third plane is the actual target. What I have to do is I have to put the front sight, I have to notch it with the rear sight. I have to have equal height, equal light if I want to hit in a exact particular area. And I need to superimpose this front sight onto the target. Now, can you just imagine if somebody's trying to kill you and you have to do all three? You might attend some courses and they tell you to focus just on the front sight when you're within more or less between 3 and 7 yards. They suggest that you have a flash sight picture. All that is an acceptable presentation of the front sight superimposed on the target. You fire and you should hit what is intended. The problem with even doing that is that you have at least two planes to cover. Now, the front sight picture is one of the most rapid techniques on how to hit something fast and within that 3 to 7 yard distance. But again, we have to focus that front sight, and then we have to be sure of our target. Our target is the second plane. That's a little bit, maybe too much for some to accomplish during the threat of perhaps being killed. With a red dot optic that's mounted on a pistol, you get the upper advantage on the playing field. So let me show you something for a little bit. Take the safety off, lock the slide back, nothing in the well, and I'm visually and I'm physically looking for any loaded cartridges, and I'm empty. So with a red dot that's mounted on the slide of a pistol, all you have to really focus on is the target. So you see that red dot? I could keep both of my eyes open at just about any distance, not just 5 yards, 3 yards, 7 yards. I can go 25 yards, I can go 50 yards, and I can keep both eyes open. Why is keeping your eyes open so important? Well, I can maintain a good peripheral horizon. I'm not just focused straight ahead of me. I can see through my peripherals if I have both of my eyes open. So ideally, you want to have both eyes open. You see that red dot? All I have to do is superimpose that red dot on my intended target. That's it. That's one plane that I have to cover. And that plane is actually the target. With a red dot, you're actually target focused. With a pistol that does not have the red dot system, you're focused on three things. And I'll remind you, it's the front sight, the rear sight. You're focused also on the actual target to see what he's going to do. So let's just say this person is a deadly threat. I'm going to put this front sight on him without the red dot. I'm going to put this front sight on this person. At the very minimum, superimpose that on wherever I want to hit. And right before I break the shot, I got to make sure that this person is still a threat to me. Most of the time, this is accomplished within seconds, milliseconds, but that's still time, that critical time that we can lose in a lethal force encounter. With the red dot, okay, I just have to keep focusing on that target, see what this person is doing. Maybe this person has put their hands up, okay, or maybe they're making these further movements, but I could just focus on their actions. I don't have to focus on these three things. And I keep mentioning three things. What I'm referring to are three planes to cover. But modern gunfighting schools teach you the two-plane technique. You know, focus on the front sight and then the target. So when I say three things, that's what I'm referring to. When I'm referring to two things, that's what I'm referring to. But with this red dot, you're just focusing on that target, seeing what this person is doing. I could keep my eyes both open and I could see what's going on around me. Ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, having a red dot optic absolves some of the liability that's associated with negligent marksmanship. You see, where I want to hit, all I have to do is focus that or place that red dot on whatever I want to hit, and then I squeeze the trigger. What we've seen in these courses, and this is why it's so important to receive instruction from a firearm instructor that has been to a red dot school, red dot instructor school, is the instructor gets to see the different weapon systems that are out there, see the different optics, and see what techniques works and what does not work. Practical applications, things work so much better. Like I keep saying, I could focus on the threat. If I need to back up, go away from my target and seek a position of cover or concealment, I keep backing up, and then I just have my weapon right in front of me. Okay, I can have it right in front of me, and I can keep focusing on the threat. I could run. I could hide behind. I could run to a car. I could hide behind a tire or other place of cover or concealment, and I just present the weapon back up, and then I get sights on target. And remember, when I say sight, I mean the red sight. I get red sight on target really, really fast. Your eye can pick up the red dot so much more faster, many times, than the sight picture. And if you have a green dot, it is said that you can pick up the green dot a lot faster. Your shots are just so more accurate. You get shots on target so much more better. But remember, this is the caveat though. If you have poor marksmanship using regular iron sights, you're going to have poor marksmanship with a red dot. Having a red dot doesn't give you that instant marksmanship ability. Absolutely not. Now, this is the problem with private security, is that most of the classes that are available that involve red dot optics, they're only available to law enforcement. There are some that will offer to security, but you might have to drive a distance. You might have to drive to another state. And wherever you go to for a red dot instructor school, you also have to make sure that this instructor has received the appropriate training for that. Right now, I don't know of any train the trainer course for red dot optic instructors. So the instructors that are developing instructor course, they either, well, most of the time they have a lot of red dot optic training behind their belt. Maybe they attend a 2-day course, a 6-day course, a 5-day course, but there's a lot of training involved. And they submit their application to post, and the course outline, the syllabus, they submit to post and the post Peace Officer Standards of Training, they review the curriculum, and it's up to them if they want to approve it or not, if they feel that the instructor has credentials. So there's no train the trainer course. The instructor has to prove through other means that they are competent to instruct in a red dot optics course. Knowing that it's very difficult for a private security officer to enroll in one of these courses, you may not need, you may think about other requirements. So before a private security officer carries on duty, the requirements, in my opinion, if there's no red dot instructor school, and typically you want to go through either a 1 day or 2 day school, preferably you want to go through 20 hours of training, but you're rarely going to find 20 hours of training. But for private security professional, my, I guess, unprofessional opinion is that you should, at the very least, have your employees go through the regular course of fire for your state and have them qualify with a red dot optic on the pistol. If they can qualify with this, and what you can do is you can create your own form, and you can have your employee bring this form to the firearm instructor, and I'm almost sure they're going to sign off on it. I mean, it doesn't involve much more time. All they have to do is verify the optic. Perhaps maybe you have a make, model, serial number. They have to verify that that's the same optic on the gun, and verify that you received the qualifying score. Okay, so that's one of the criteria that I would suggest. Another criteria is making sure that this student is well aware of the cons of red dot optics. And I also find out if this person even has a working knowledge of red dot optics. If they don't, then they shouldn't even be carrying a firearm that has a red dot optic. So what I would suggest is ask, okay, cool, you have this gun with the red dot optic. At what distance did you sight in your red dot optic at? If they say, oh, I'm not really sure, but it was far away, that's an instant disqualification in my book. Now, they're telling you, I sighted in at 7 yards, 15 yards, or 25 yards. And then the next question I would ask is, what type of support did you offer to this weapon? Well, if they tell you, I sandbagged it, or I placed it in a vise or standing position, that offers a lot more credibility. That gives this person more credibility than somebody that just like, I don't know. Okay, so once again, have them qualify on the regular state qualification course with the red dot optic. Have the firearm instructor certify, make up your own form that the optic used in the qualification course was the same optic that was used to qualify. Second, ask the student, at what distance did you sight the pistol at? And then the third question that I would ask is, how did you support the firearm when you shot it? Okay, I would go in to ask maybe a fourth question, and that question would revolve around, what did you mount the optic on? Okay, what did you use? So if they're confused by the question, you can rephrase it, but students who are into guns, they're into craftsmanship, they're into knowing and into making sure that the optic on their gun is ready to go just in case something happens, that there's just to make sure that they're serious about having this on their gun. They should be telling you, well, I put Loctite on it, and I mounted it with 2 screws, and then I would ask, well, what color Loctite did you use? Okay, did you use the one that's permanent or not permanent? I mean, this is really important stuff. If I have a student that used the permanent one, okay, then I have a student that may be a little bit confused on how to mount this properly onto the platform. I'm going to keep emphasizing that training is important. even though your employee cannot go to a course because they're not allowed to, because it's typically for peace officers, training is so important, because if this red dot is not properly sighted in, okay, you could be aiming for somebody's head in a hostage situation and hit the victim instead. That's how serious it is to have a properly trained employee have this red dot optic, okay? I mean, that's the negative aspect of having a red dot system, is if it's not sighted in correctly, that can definitely happen. And also, another thing is, in the beginning, a lot of students find it difficult to find the dot, okay? When you go through training, you see the dot, the instructors show you what to do, how to find the dot, just in case you don't see it. If you don't see the dot, well, you know what? You're not gonna hit your intended target. You're gonna hit something else. And that's why it's so important to go through this training to find the dot. I'm telling you, the first maybe hour or so, I had difficulties finding the dot. This is something that you have to train for. About 20 of the students in my class, we had about 20 of them. Maybe a couple of them had a lot of difficulty finding the dot. But then after the second day, we were all able to find it. If you can't find the dot, then you can't hit what's intended. The pros, I still think that there's more pros than the cons, and it goes back to liability. If the optic is mounted properly, you can reduce liability, because if the employee has to shoot the gun or fire the gun in a life and death situation, if this person's trained, most likely they're going to hit what they intend to hit. There's a firearm organization, I think it's called the International Firearms Association. I'm probably butchering that name. And they investigated about 20 officer-involved shootings. The actual hit rate is actually up. It was in the 70 or 75 percentile. Typically, the hit rate in a life and death situation is more or less in the 30 to 40%. That's not good. 30, 40% with iron sights. So with the red dot, you get the advantage on that playing field. Let's just say that you as an employer decide to allow your employee to carry a red dot optic on their pistol. One of the things that you have to keep in mind is that you can't just mount this on any gun. You have to have it specific. You have to have the slide specifically milled for that. My gun is specifically made for this specific optic. And as you can see, it's actually milled for this optic. The optic is actually as low to the bore of the barrel as possible, which is actually a good thing. Some mounts, there's a different way of mounting them, but it's a lot higher. It's significantly above the actual barrel, which is not always a great thing. Okay, so the gun has to be specifically milled for that. If you're watching this video and you're not an employer, but you just want to carry a red dot on duty, just keep in mind that if you haven't bought the gun yet, you want to buy a gun that is actually milled already for a red dot. And if you don't know what red dot you're going to get one that's perhaps a universal fit. And then when you get the red dot, many of the manufacturers have different mounting plates for different type of manufacturers of firearms. But if you don't have, if it's not milled out, like this Glock 22, I'm going to get it milled pretty soon. I'm going to have to pay about an additional $150 to $170 just to get this milled out to fit the red dot optic. Another thing that you have to consider is the holsters. If you're going to buy, you have the gun and then you want a red dot optic, okay, it's not going to fit. Your gun is not going to fit in every holster because of the red dot. Okay, so this holster is actually made for a red dot and it fits snug, it fits perfect. And then also, if you want to have a white light on the gun like this Surefire, okay, you have to make sure that you have the right holster for it. Okay, like this holster If I don't have the white light on it, it's just gonna fall out, and I'll show you in a minute here. Okay. Okay, locks in place, but look at this. Look how much wiggle room. Now open it up, look at, if I'm going upside down somewhere, I'm climbing a ladder, look at, it's gonna fall out. There's no retention. Check this out. Now, look at, see? Now you have the retention because the white light is on there. So that's something you have to consider as a holster. Ask yourself, will my holster accommodate a red dot sight? And if you bought a holster that didn't have it wasn't molded for a red dot optic, you're gonna have to buy a brand new holster. And buy a duty holster. Make sure you get the duty one; they're the most reliable. You're gonna look at it easy, $150 to $170 for the holster. You have to buy that all over again. Okay. Hopefully this helps you if you're an employer decide whether or not you're going to allow your employees to carry a red dot optic. If so, I gave you some criteria to go by. Maybe you can create policy. Eventually, I want to create a sample policy. Once I'm finished, sample policy for private security companies who allow their employees to carry red dots. I will have a sample policy. Give me a good 6 months to 8 months. I will leave it in the link description below. I don't have one finished. I'm definitely working on it. Remember, there's a lot more pros in summary to having a red dot optic. I am more threat focused than having to focus on my sight picture and the target right before I break that shot. I think this is a good thing for private security. If your employee met those requirements, I definitely would allow them to carry one. And if you're an employee or you want to carry a red dot or maybe a contractor for the work site, I hope this video helps you decide whether or not it's a good idea. Like always, please like this video, subscribe. And if you have any questions or you want me to provide different content or something else, just ask. Everybody, let's be safe and have a good one.